there's
this asshole.
Yeah, so there's a pastor. Two women have spoken out against a pastor that abused them
Sexually.
He used. Hold on one second. Let me get this going. So he used his power of position in order to put himself to where he could manipulate these women and enter into a sexual relationship with them. Mm-hmm. And so basically this is a quoted portion from Hemant Mehta's article saying, Frey claims the counseling sessions, because both of the women were dealing with pretty bad breakups when he took advantage of them. Right. He identified women that were vulnerable.
One of the girls was still in high school.
Right. So Frey, one of the women, claims that the counseling session soon transformed into meetings with Feltner at his house, then shared bubble baths, sex, and a trip to Las Vegas. Sexual contact with the pastor began while Frey was still in high school. Hendrickson alleges that Feltner...
That's the other girl.
The other girl, sorry. Feltner initiated a physical relationship with her in the fall of 2002 while he was also pursuing Frey. She says that Feltner told her he felt God leading him to pursue her. That was your dick leading you in a direction, not like some kind of fucking compass there, bud.
This is in Berea?
Yeah.
In Berea, Kentucky?
I think that's where it started, maybe?
He works... it says... Oh, no. That's a Berean Baptist church. I'm sorry, that's not in Berea, Kentucky. Okay, sorry.
Minnesota.
Okay.
But anyways, he's up for a senior pastor.
So hold on, let's go, because there's more to this story. So church leadership found out about the relationships, okay? But the people in charge, the women said that the people in charge dismissed it, and he kept getting promoted, like, through different churches.
Right, he would keep ascending the whole hierarchy of it.
So now he works at Berean Baptist Church in Minnesota. Now continue.
Okay, so, and he's about to become a senior pastor at First Baptist Church in Clarksville, Tennessee, but the women are speaking up again and letting people know about his predatory nature again. Mm-hmm. And
there has to be more. There's doesn't have to be. There's probably more.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's obviously a predator.
And he's getting moved to different states, kind of like how the Catholic priests get moved around.
Well, yeah, these are just the two women that have spoken up.
Mm-hmm. That's what I'm saying. There could very well be more.
Right. So, here is how the First Baptist of Clarksville, which is the church that he's going to be going to, this is how they responded to the women that were speaking up and the people in the church that are taking it seriously.
Mm-hmm. Or they said, if that guy comes as our pastor, I am out of here. Every one of those guys, including Reuben Ross, for some of his controversial teachings of the time, every last one of them had somebody that opposed him and somebody that was an adversary. Even John Lydie, if you can believe it, had adversaries. I mean, come on.
Okay, so he just rattled off all of the previous pastors of that church that apparently had people that were like, fuck it, I'm not going to be here anymore if he's here.
Well, it's interesting. Adversaries.
Yes. So adversaries.
They're adversaries because they're concerned about a predatory pastor coming to their church who takes advantage of women who are vulnerable and girls.
Yes.
Like, that a person who's concerned about that is an adversary.
Right.
Okay.
Well, yeah, that's how he's painting it. He doesn't use that word specifically for these girls, but that's how he set it up.
Well, yeah, that's how, I mean, I didn't say he called the girls that. I'm saying he's talking about the people in the church who are opposed to this guy coming here are adversaries.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, the people who oppose these pastors are considered adversaries by at least
this asshole.
That guy. Anyway, it's true. And so, lo and behold, there's some people with that same thing to say about this new guy that this committee's about to bring you, Lord willing, as a candidate. It'd be naive to think otherwise. But it turns out there's a handful of people that oppose this guy. that we're talking about. They're mostly outside the church, but they've even reached a few people on the inside. Of everyone that is opposed, I've had the same question that I asked them, and that is, have you talked to him in the last 17 years? Have you had communication with him since then? And the consistent answer is no. There's something in his past they've latched onto, they say he's unrepentant for, or what have you, but with no communication to him in the last 17 years.
But why would that matter? Like, if they talked to him in the last 17 years, could he have changed? I guess maybe, sure. But is there any evidence? Also, there were no consequences for any of those behaviors. Do those things still happen? Like, these are legitimate questions that should be answered. And I don't see what difference it makes if those women, those specific people who've had problems have talked to him in the last 17 years. He took advantage of them.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, he's basically, saying, oh, well, he's a different guy now.
But how would he know?
He doesn't. He also doesn't know if this has happened multiple other times, because all we have are two women that are speaking up. Because, I mean, this type of thing is very much frowned upon in the Christian community. Speaking up against your pastor, claiming that your pastor seduced you and used his power of authority over you in order to engage in some kind of sexual relationship with you. Mm-hmm. No, I mean, I can see it. Who is going to believe that? Who's going to believe me that he seduced me into this position?
Oh yeah, no, he's a good Christian man.
Right.
Mm-mm.
And anytime somebody brings something about a brother or sister to me, the first thing we do is bring that person into the conversation. Let's talk to them. Let's get them at the table. Let's talk with the person that ultimately, when a bunch of people brought a sinner to Jesus and said, let's stone her because she did wrong. What Jesus did through a few steps was to thin the crowd down to the one person that needed to know of that sin in such a way that they could repent. It's not about telling the crowd about the sin, it's telling the sinner about the sin. And once they know of the sin, they can repent, and they're the only one that can repent. And God never calls us to expose to the light a bunch of people. Somebody said that he's not.
So don't tell anybody, and nobody should be told about it when shit goes down. Nobody should be told about it, and God doesn't say that it should be brought to light. Only the sinner should be aware that it's wrong and repent for it, but no one else should be told. How fucked up is that?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I wanted to get to the very end of this because it highlights what I think is the critical problem with current Christian communities. And that's the whole Jesus bringing the woman that's accused of adultery out and being like, oh, he who has not sinned cast the first stone or whatever. Mm-hmm. There's that, and then there's also the whole, oh, we just don't need to talk about sin. We don't need to bring this to light. The only people that need to know about the sin is the person that committed the sin. That's it. Like,
and what about their victims?
Well, right. But see, the whole critical thing here is that the idea that, oh, well, I shouldn't really judge him because I sinned too. Like, I've sinned, so I can't judge or condemn anybody else's sin or problems or anything like that. So
yes, you can.
I'm no better than this guy over here who seduced two young girls. At least two young girls.
Yes, you can. You can judge those people. And like it's called the justice system. And we have it. In fact, there's a justice system set up in Israel. So like, yeah, those people can be judged and it's fine. Those things should be brought to light because people need to know. Because you put these people in higher positions with more and more power as they go along, and they have more authority, they have more access to more victims. And if I was a parent in that church, I would want to know who is around my child. Like, right. I would want to know that. And if this person has a history of seducing vulnerable young women and I don't abusing them. I feel like it's abusive. I feel like that is an abuse of power, and I don't know that there was anything that was technically non-consensual other than the girl was still in high school. So that would be non-consensual.
Well, I mean, this is the power of authority. It's what is it? It's like power assertive rape is what it is. Like, basically, it's the same thing as, your boss, hitting on you and using his power of authority position over you to
make it to where you feel like you can't say no.
Right.
Yes. And so, like, this is unacceptable. Like, this man should not be allowed around children.
Right. So there's in Hemant Mehta's article, he quotes a doctor, Dr. Susan Codone, who's a professor and a Southern Baptist too, that summarizes this particular situation and the problem with these types of pastors in general. And because the Leaf Chronicle was apparently talking about this particular situation, and she says, predators groom adults, the caretakers and gatekeepers, before they groom younger targets. They convince the adults of the authenticity of both their charisma and character so that the adults will defend and protect them. Mm-hmm. And she goes on to say, if Feltner were interviewing for the position of a middle school girls soccer team coach, these allegations would have to shut down his eligibility. The church's standards should not be lower. And I agree. Mm-hmm. I mean, you're talking about a senior pastor position where you're going to have power of authority over the entire church. Mm-hmm. How can you put somebody that's known for abusing his power of authority over young women to be put in a position to have even more of a power of authority over?
More power of authority and more access.
Right.
And that's unacceptable. That can't be allowed to happen. And the fact that I'm assuming this guy who's talking in the video, is he a pastor at the church now?
No. He's a pastor, I think he's probably not a pastor, but he's probably like a senior person.
A preacher at the church. Yeah. So he is up there defending this guy and is like, God willing, we'll get him. Like, what? Aren't you concerned? Like, does your daughter go to that church? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't understand. Well, I don't understand these people at all.
These are the type of people that would rather leave their child in a room with a pedophile than leave them in a room with an atheist.
Yes, because we're so horrible.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm not saying that he has said that in any way. I'm just saying that these are the type of people that just don't trust, like, even atheists. That they would rather trust somebody who would knowingly hurt their child than for somebody, else.
Who doesn't believe in their God person.
Right.
It's bizarre.